we tried just not too much. Hope she'll be happier with.
My father died right after he turned 60. I think that a lot of people died as a result of some kind of coal mine thing. I think it was kidney failure or something.
It's been 4 years Bill Withers passed away, but now his family has recently confirmed the terrible rumors about him. What are these rumors, and how are they affecting his legacy?
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always.
It's hard to imagine that after all these years, such shocking news is coming to light. What does this mean for his fans and family?
Coming from West Virginia makes you feel kind of unique, I guess, which is a nice feeling.
Many of us know him thanks to his beautiful and heartfelt music. Born William Harrison Withers Jr. in 1938 in a small mining town called Slab Fork, West Virginia. Life wasn't easy for Bill. It was a time when America's southern states were full of unfair segregation.
And so all the white people lived on one side of the railroad track and all the black people lived on the other side of the railroad track. Well, my mother bought a house that was just on the side that she wasn't supposed to buy it on.
Sadly, he was just 13. His father passed away, and his grandmother raised him. Later in life, Bill honored her with his beautiful song, Grandma's Hands. Money had always been tight, and he had to do any and all odd jobs that came his way to pitch in and support his grieving family. Within a couple of years, he was tired and frustrated. After working for years to support himself and his family throughout his final years of high school, he'd finally had enough. Withers knew he needed to leave Beckley to escape the rut he was in, so he came up with a plan. As soon as he graduated high school in 1956, he left his hometown to join the Navy and served for 9 years. Withers may have had enough of the naval life, but that didn't mean there was some glamorous job awaiting him in California. The first paid work he found was as a milkman, and he was the first black man to have been hired for the job. He didn't stick with it for too long, though. Other things were on the horizon.
See, the connection to the outside world was movies. So you'd go to the movies and you'd see all those movies with people in other places, and in the movies there's music to everything. So, pick your poison, you know.
His next stint was at an aircraft factory. Withers was overqualified for the job, but he needed to make money to survive, and his options for employment were limited. It was during this time, when he was making just $3 an hour, that he made a life-changing discovery when he visited a nightclub in Oakland and was blown away by what he saw. The singer Lou Rawls was performing there that night, and he blew Withers away, but not for the reasons you'd think. Withers was surprised to learn that Rawls was earning $2,000 per show, despite the fact that he rarely even turned up on time. Combine that with the fact that Rawls was extremely popular with the ladies, and that knowledge was enough for Withers to decide he needed to take some drastic measures to improve the way things were going in his own life. Withers formulated a plan and started by buying a guitar at a pawn shop and teaching himself how to play it. He'd always loved music and had enjoyed hearing the band play when he was in the Navy. For the next few months, he continued working every day and saving the money he made until he finally had enough to record a demo.
So when I went over and played with the white kids, then I listened to the music they were listening to. So I was influenced by little Jimmy Dickens. I heard all that stuff, sleeping at the foot of the bed, and, Bonnie guitar, which was a favorite of mine. I also...
Did you know that Bill Withers struggled with a stutter? It wasn't just as a kid either. It followed him into adulthood, even when he started his music career. This made talking to people a huge challenge, let alone performing. When Withers was young, his stutter made him an easy target for bullies. Kids mocked him, and the pain stuck with him. Even later in life, moments of stuttering would bring back those feelings of fear and shame. He once shared a touching story about introducing himself at a party. He got stuck on his name, and while a woman standing nearby laughed, it brought him to tears. But Withers didn't let these experiences define him. Instead, he learned to forgive people in advance for their ignorance and cruelty. It's fear, he said, explaining how the fear of being judged makes stuttering even harder. But his advice was inspiring. Treat people with kindness, even if they don't understand you. We have to be more civil than most people, he shared. This attitude shaped his life and his music, making him a person of deep empathy. Withers poured his vulnerability into his songs. Take Ain't No Sunshine, for example. This song is only 2 minutes and 5 seconds long, yet it tells a powerful story about love and loss. The lyrics are simple but hit hard. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. The repetition in the song, especially when he sings I Know 26 times, feels like a stutter. But instead of making the song weaker, it makes it stronger. The repeated phrase pulls you into his emotions, his love, pain, and uncertainty. It's like he's circling his feelings, trying to make sense of them. In some ways, the stutter became a hidden strength in his music. It added depth and raw emotion to his songs, making them relatable to listeners. Withers didn't just write songs. He created spaces where feelings like fear, longing, and love could live.
When I went on the other side of the tracks to play with the black kids, then I heard the blues coming out of somebody's house, or went to church and you heard that. So all of those things kind of leaked into your psyche.
Grandma.
Bill Withers didn't start out like most famous musicians. He came to music from the edges of life and stayed there in many ways. He was already in his early 30s when he had his first big hits. Before that, he served in the Navy and worked as a mechanic, fixing military airplanes. Music wasn't his main focus at first, and he didn't like the flashy style many performers had back then. He called it the rhythm and blues syndrome, with all the horns, backup singers, and shiny suits. That wasn't who he was. In 1985, Withers left the music business for good. He didn't want to be a typical entertainer. He wasn't about fame or fancy shows. In 1974, he joined a big music event in Zaire that happened alongside the famous Rumble in the Jungle boxing match between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. The concert had stars like James Brown, known for his high-energy performances, and Celia Cruz, who dazzled with her sparkling outfits. But Withers was different. He sat quietly with his guitar and sang, choosing one of his saddest songs, Hope She'll Be Happier.
Hope she'll be happier with you.
One of the most powerful parts of the song is when he sings the word gone. He holds the note for an incredible 14 seconds. It's as if he's showing how much someone's absence can stretch across your whole life. At the same time, he hints that maybe he's feeling worse than he normally would because it's late at night. But the long gone says everything. It's both too much to bear and leaves nothing else to say.
My father died right after he turned 60. I think that a lot of people died as a result of some kind of coal mine thing. I think it was kidney failure or something, but
everyone needs someone who sees their potential and believes in them. For Bill, he was lucky enough to find that person when he recorded his first demo. Clarence Avant, the founder of Sussex Records, heard Withers singing and was impressed. Withers was equally impressed because Avant was the first black businessman he had ever met. At that time, Withers was a new artist, and he didn't have much help. The label was small and didn't have a lot of money to spend. They could only afford a few recording sessions spread over several months. The total cost of recording the album was only $3,600. Not much for an album, right? But Withers didn't let that stop him. While working on his first album, Just As I Am, Withers was still working his day job at an aircraft company. He spent his days installing toilets on Boeing 747s. Even though he was recording his album at night, he was still afraid to quit his job. He knew how unstable the music industry could be, and he didn't trust that his music career would work out. He didn't want to risk being broke, so he kept his day job. Interestingly, Withers' first album cover was taken at his workplace. He posed during his lunch break at the factory, holding his lunch pail. His co-workers thought it was funny. Little did they know, the album would become a huge success. It's safe to say they probably didn't think it was so funny later when Withers' music became famous.
Saturday night in Harlem, everything hangs on.
Even though Withers had no plans to leave his job, he got a surprise he wasn't expecting. Before his album even came out, Withers was laid off from his factory job. But the funny thing is, his old job came back to him. The factory later sent him a letter asking him to return to work. But that wasn't the most exciting letter Withers received that day. In a twist that feels like something from a rags to riches story, Withers got another letter on the same day. This one was from The Tonight Show, inviting him to appear on the famous TV program hosted by Johnny Carson. It was a big moment in Withers' life, and it showed that his hard work and determination were finally paying off. Some of his most famous songs, like Lean on Me,
Lean on me when you're not strong.
and Just the Two of Us,
Just the two of us, you and I.
have messages that still touch our hearts today. One of Withers' most famous songs is Lovely Day,
It's gonna be a lovely.
which he wrote in 1977. The song is all about finding comfort and hope in the people we love. It starts with the lyrics, "When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way." The song then goes on to say how, when we look at someone we care about, everything feels better. And I know it's gonna be a lovely day, with its soft voice, beautiful music, and positive message. It's easy to see why this song still makes us feel hopeful today. The song also has an amazing moment where Bill Withers holds a note for 18 seconds, which is one of the longest ever heard on a recording. It shows just how special his voice was. Another one of his songs, Lean on Me, became an anthem for people supporting each other, especially during tough times like the coronavirus pandemic. This song speaks about friendship, trust, and the importance of being there for each other. Its message is simple but powerful. When you need help, you can lean on your friends. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. This song was even performed at the presidential inaugurations of Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. It's a reminder that we all need each other, no matter what happens in the world. Bill also gave us the beautiful love song, Just the Two of Us, released in 1980. With its smooth sound and Grover Washington Jr.'s amazing saxophone. This song is all about the joy of being in a loving relationship. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us, building castles in the sky. It reminds us that love, no matter how simple, is powerful and can get us through anything. And we can't forget his heart-wrenching song, Ain't No Sunshine. This song speaks to anyone who's ever felt the pain of losing someone they love. Bill Withers' voice in this song is raw and real, making it easy to feel the emotion in every word. He doesn't need to say much. His voice tells the whole story.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always.
Bill Withers' music is special because it comes from his own life. His father passed away when he was just 13, leaving his mother to raise him and his siblings. This early loss shaped the music he wrote, making it real and full of emotion.
And this house just ain't no home anytime.
Behind the music, his career was full of struggles with record labels and difficult people. Let's talk about how his journey took a frustrating turn with Sussex Records and later with Columbia. When Withers was with Sussex Records, things started well. He was making hits and selling lots of records. But as time went on, the relationship between Withers and the label began to fall apart. One day, despite all the money he'd made for them, they told him they couldn't pay him. This upset Withers deeply. In a moment of anger, he made a shocking decision. He erased an entire album he had almost finished. He felt it was his only way to strike back at the label. Shortly after, Sussex Records went out of business. After Sussex went bankrupt, Withers signed a 5-record deal, but the relationship was doomed from the beginning. The very first thing the A&R executive said to Withers was that he wasn't a fan of his music, or any black music. A man named Mickey Eichner, who was in charge of picking songs for artists, made things tough for Withers. Eichner even suggested that Withers sing an Elvis song, which Withers found insulting. Eichner denied Withers' claims, saying the singer was stubborn and unwilling to take advice. He also accused Withers of refusing to improve an album he had submitted. The disagreements made their working relationship worse. Kinda makes you wonder what possessed them to bring him on board then? Withers was understandably quite unhappy at Columbia. He found that everything he did was questioned, unlike at Sussex where he'd had full creative control. He recorded 5 albums with Columbia, but his heart wasn't in it. The final straw came when Columbia had Withers record an album in a stranger's home studio. While he was there, a young child ran around the house unclothed, and the adults made inappropriate jokes about her playing with Withers. This deeply disturbed him. After finishing that album called Watching You, Watching Me, Withers decided he had had enough. He walked away from the music business for good. Despite the fact that Withers' music had been so loved, he never regretted walking away from fame. Joe Walsh, Eagles guitarist, said Withers had told him he disliked fame because it made people treat him differently, and he hated the business side of making music. Success means different things to different people. He'd seen his dreams come true. He was tired of the business and wanted to spend time living. Once he was done, even the offer of a lot more money didn't give him enough incentive to tour. His reasoning, what else do I need to buy? Bill Withers didn't perform in public, with one notable exception. He agreed to perform at the 40th birthday party for the owners of the Detroit Pistons, Tom Gores. As he put it, the numbers for my fee got so high my nose started to bleed. Bill was riding high after the success of his 2 albums. His music was loved by many, and life seemed great. However, things weren't as perfect as they appeared. In 1973, Withers married actress Denise Nicholas.
Yeah? Well, I'm gonna have a block for you to bust too, baby, so you better bring a whole lot of hammer.
But their fairy tale wedding quickly turned into a nightmare. Sadly, their relationship had problems even before the wedding. Denise Nicholas shared that a year before they married, she tried to end things with Withers over the phone. However, Withers flew to her location and attacked her. Nicholas reported the incident to the police, but she didn't press charges. A source once remembered that before the wedding, Nicholas cried and said she didn't think Withers really loved her. Despite this, they went ahead with the wedding, but their problems only grew, and within a year, their marriage fell apart. During their marriage, Withers and Nicholas were interviewed for a magazine called Black Stars. In the interview, Withers gave a surprising answer about being married to another celebrity. He said, "I'm a male chauvinist, so to me, it would not make any difference as long as nobody tries to emasculate me." This comment showed how he felt about gender roles in the marriage. Sadly, their divorce was finalized just before what would have been their second wedding anniversary. The end of the marriage hit Withers hard. He poured his heart out into his next album, plus Adjustments. The album was personal and shared the struggles and problems he had faced in his marriage. It didn't hold back, showing the real pain he felt from their relationship's breakdown. After Bill Withers divorced his first wife, he found happiness again when he married Marsha Johnson in 1976. Bill often said he felt lucky to have found a devoted partner like Marsha, who not only loved him, but also helped him in many ways. Marsha had an MBA and used her skills to manage Bill's publishing business, which he jokingly called a mom-and-pop shop. She took care of the business side of things, like making sure Bill's songs were featured in commercials and movies. Thanks to her hard work, the couple was financially secure for the rest of their lives. Bill and Marsha were also deeply involved in the Stuttering Association for Youth, SAY, a cause close to Bill's heart. As a child, Bill struggled with stuttering, and he understood how important it was to support young people dealing with the same challenge. Bill and Marsha's work with SAY was so meaningful that they were both inducted into the SAY Hall of Fame in 2018. It was a special moment for them, knowing that their efforts were helping many others. One of the biggest benefits of stepping away from the music scene was that Bill had more time to spend with his family. Bill and Marsha had 2 children, Corey and Todd, and they enjoyed many happy times together. They would often go on long road trips across the country and have fun James Brown dance parties in their pajamas. These moments meant a lot to their kids, who remember how much their parents enjoyed spending time with them. In 2016, Withers was involved in a legal dispute, alleging that Kendrick Lamar's song I Do This used an unauthorized sample of his work.
Something like the 70s, but I'm from 87, right, with 1,000 dimes.
The legal fight started after a company called Maddie Music Group, which says it owns the rights to Withers' song Don't You Want to Stay from 1975, filed a lawsuit. The company says that Lamar's song isn't much different from Withers' original. According to them, Kendrick Lamar just rapped over Withers' music without getting permission. They argue that Lamar took the music and added his own rap lyrics on top, without changing it enough to make it his own. This lawsuit is about more than just asking Lamar to stop using the music. Maddie Music Group wants Lamar and his team to pay for using the song without permission. They also want to make sure Lamar doesn't use it again in the future. The legal action was taken to a federal court in Los Angeles, where the complaint claims that Kendrick Lamar used Withers' music in a way that is a direct and complete copy. The lawsuit also mentions that Lamar has, in a way, admitted to using the song, and that he seemed to have an attitude of, "Catch me if you can," meaning he wasn't worried about getting caught. Along with Kendrick Lamar, other people and companies are also part of the lawsuit. Top Dog Entertainment, which helped release Lamar's music, and a part of Warner Music that deals with music publishing, are named as defendants as well.
We can make it if we try to.
Sadly, Bill passed away on March 30th at the age of 81. His death was due to heart and lung problems, according to his death certificate. The cause of death was listed as cardiopulmonary arrest, which means his heart and lungs stopped working. The doctors also mentioned that Bill had chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, a lung condition that makes it hard to breathe, and bradyarrhythmia, a problem with his heart's rhythm. Bill passed away at Providence Tarzana Regional Medical Center in Los Angeles. He had spent 49 years in the music industry, touching many lives with his songs. He was buried at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park in LA. His family described him as a solitary man with a heart that wanted to connect with the world through his music. In 2015, Withers was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, an honor he didn't expect but was proud of. He said he was happy to represent what he called the old junk category. Bill leaves behind a legacy of music that will continue to inspire people for generations. His honesty and connection to the world through his songs will never be forgotten.